Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'll be playing another traditional draft of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. Without further ado, let's get into our pack 1 pick 1. Pretty easy Boromir, Warden of the Tower, 3 mana 3/3 Vigilance, solid stat line already, plus the ability to give your board indestructible and have the Ring Tempt You by sacrificing Boromir is a very nice bit of flexibility, so super solid card. We will take Boromir here. The other two really good options are both in blue. There's the Bath Song and Lorien Revealed for incredible card draw options. I'd probably go for the Bath Song if it weren't for Boromir in the pack. I think Lorien Revealed is really nice. It's really flexible with that island cycling, but not quite as good as the Bath Song in terms of just the sheer quantity of card draw. Draw 4, discard 2, then shuffle whatever you want back in is a little better than just a flat draw 3. Even if it takes place over the duration of a couple turns. Pack 1, pick 2, we get an excellent follow-up to Boromir, and that is Samwise the Stout-Hearted. 2 mana, 2/1 with Flash. When Samwise enters the battlefield, you get to return a permanent from your graveyard to your hand that was put there from the battlefield this turn. So if anything died the turn you play Samwise, then you get to pick it back up from the grave for some good graveyard recursion. And no matter what, when you flash in Samwise, you get to have the Ring Tempt You, and you get to choose a new ring bearer at instant speed, which can sometimes be pretty explosive if you've had the Ring Tempt You like 4 times, because then once they've decided what they're blocking, you move the ring to something that isn't blocked and get that extra 3 damage. Plus, just early game, having the Ring Tempt You nice and early on is always great value, because once you get to that level 2 of the ring, get you set up to start looting, drawing and discarding cards, you really get set up for some good draws throughout the game with a looting effect like that. Pack 1, pick 3, we could definitely move into a secondary color with Easterling Vanguard as one of the best monocolored cards, or Generous Ent as another really good one. But we could also take Smeagol if we want to try to take a bunch of Great Hall of the Citadel style cards to help splash in a bunch of off-color stuff and be one of these very multicolored legend-focused decks, but I think I'd rather keep things nice and simple here with one of the strongest cards in the pack that's still on color to our first 2 picks, and that's Protector of Gondor. 2 creatures off 1 card. There's a lot of great ways to use 1/1 tokens in this format. Plenty of cards that care about tokens, plenty of cards that care about humans, and with the ring-bearing mechanic, with the Ring Tempts You stuff going on, having a nice little 1/1 is a pretty good ring bearer, because it's going to be a very small, low power creature to get through unblockably. Pack 1, pick 4 now. We're probably going to have to take something off color, because I don't think Nimble Hobbit is particularly good. It is a fine ring bearer since it has much higher toughness than power, and it has pretty low power. So it's hard to kill this thing as a ring bearer when it's attacking. So that's pretty good. But that's kind of the only thing it does well. If you don't have it as a ring bearer, it's just really doing nothing. So we've got like a mediocre red removal spell, mediocre green removal spell, solid black one, or we could take my favorite blue combat trick, but I don't really like the blue-white archetype. I'm going to take the Lash of the Balrog here. I think that it's a pretty solid black removal spell, especially in the black-white archetype, since that is the archetype with a lot of expendable creatures to sacrifice to this card, since black-white is a very token-centric archetype. So I think Lash just kind of goes the best with all of our white cards right now. Once again, not a big fan of the white card. Soldier of the Grey Host is pretty unexciting, pretty overcosted for its stat line. The Blade is okay if you have almost all of your creatures being humans in your deck, which right now we do have 2 humans and 1 halfling, 2 humans and a hobbit, so to speak, but still not a very exciting card. I think I'd rather take another off-color card with Shadowfax here, which is a pretty nice finisher in red-white aggro. If you have enough cards in hand to where you are dumping this on the board while you still have another creature in hand, it's a really good deal, because you just slam it down and get 2 attacking creatures in one fell swoop, which is pretty sweet. So, big fan of Shadowfax. Not a big fan of Fog on the Barrowdowns. I don't really like any of the white removal spells in this format, but I definitely don't like Fog. Since it is a pacifism-style removal spell, it's bad if your opponent has ways to sacrifice their creature for value, bad if they have ways to bounce their creature, bad if they have ways to blow up enchantments. A lot of things can go wrong with the Fog. I'd rather just take Stalwarts of Osgiliath for another way for the ring to tempt us, more consistently get that value going. Pack 1, pick 7. East Farthing Farmer is a perfectly playable white card, but we also see an Oath of the Grey Host pick 7, which is a great card for the black-white tokens archetype, since it's going to give us a food token, a treasure token, and 3 flying tokens. So actually a really nice card if we end up in black-white. We'll scoop that up. Pick 8 now. Very unexciting in every color. I think the best card is Bag End Porter, but there is a shot that we'll play a Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin. Not a super high one, but I think it's more likely than getting pushed to green for that Bag End Porter. Gimli is actually a little mediocre, so I'm not that excited about taking that for a red splash, and I don't really want 2 from Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin, so I'll just take an Inherited Envelope, just in case we want to do some splashy stuff there. Strider is definitely the strongest card here, but we're pretty far from red-green unless we pick up a bunch of Great Hall of the Citadel. Still think I'd rather take Strider than a second envelope, just in case we do get to be that Great Hall deck. Now we'll take a Flamesmith in case we do play red for Shadowfax. If we end up in red-white, that'll be a fine filler card. Actually happy to see a Nimble Hobbit this late. Again, not a card I'm going to take early at all, but it could make the cut, same with the Dune Blade. These are cards that could make it in the deck if we don't find enough better playables. They are filler. And last pick, Escape from Orthanc. That's a perfectly playable combat trick. Not unhappy to see that. Pack 2, pick 1. There is a Balrog we could try to splash in off of Inherited Envelope and stuff. Think I would rather just take Claim the Precious. If this weren't in the pack, I would probably take the Balrog here and try to get that splashed in. It is a very solid card, the only issue being that it is 7 mana, which is quite expensive for a more aggressive strategy, and black-white is a somewhat aggressive archetype. And then again, we will have to play some filler cards like Inherited Envelopes to get it splashed in, because I think there were some Great Hall of the Citadels in pack 1, but they all got scooped up, so I don't think we'll be able to just have lands to fix our mana. We'll have to actually dedicate card slots like Inherited Envelopes and Wizard's Rockets, which makes our deck a little less consistent in order to support the Balrog. So it's not like an incredible windmill slam dunk kind of card if the Claim the Precious isn't here, but I think it is probably the best card without Claim the Precious. Claim the Precious, though, excellent removal spell, has the Ring Tempt Us, just does a lot of really good stuff, and much easier for us to cast than the Balrog. So I'm 3 cards deep into black, Oath of the Grey Host, Claim the Precious, and Lash of the Balrog. That's not incredibly deep, and these 2 black cards aren't incredible. If I take a card for the main colors of our deck right now, we're just going to take a Took Reaper or a Westfold Rider, solid filler 2-drops. I think I would rather just take Rangers of Athelion in case we can push into blue, because this would immediately be the strongest card in our entire draft pool right now. This card is busted, really easy to cast, it's only 4 mana, and it's going to steal one of your opponent's creatures and have the Ring Tempt You when it hits the board, which is just a tremendous amount of value. So I'm going to take the Rangers there. Pretty speculative, but we're not missing on all that much by taking it there. And now it looks like the speculation is not going to pan out incredibly well, because we're just going to take Voracious Fellbeast. Incredible top-end card. Great when you're ahead, great when you're behind, great when the board state is even. Just a huge, huge, huge deal late in the game, making your opponent sack a creature, giving you a food, and a 4/4 flyer to finish things off. Take that Voracious Fellbeast. Now we can take an Eowyn out of white. Check out how our mana curve is looking. We're going to have to pick up some more cheap creatures, but I think Eowyn is enough stronger than an Easterling Vanguard or an Esquire of the King to take the Eowyn here. Very, very solid ability to help you get into combat more often, finding First Strike or Vigilance whenever you need it, and putting it wherever you need it. Yeah, super huge fan of Eowyn. I'm going to take her over Vanguard and Esquire. I've cast many Eowyns in my day, and I've never been unhappy with her. Now we have Esquire of the King and Gorbag of Minas Morgul. Gorbag's not really going to do anything but be a 2-mana 2/2. The really nice part about Gorbag that we do enjoy is that it's a legend, but other than that, it's just kind of a 2-mana 2/2. I think I'd rather just take the Esquire of the King. super playable 1-drops to get you curving out with a 1-mana creature into a 2-mana creature into a 3-mana creature, and later in the game you get to use it to just buff your whole board and help find extra attacks. It's really nice for just the threat of activation as well, because if you're in a position where you're attacking in with a 3/3 Boromir or something and they have a 4 toughness blocker, but you have the mana to buff your Boromir, like what are they going to do? Block it, let you spend the mana and kill their thing? No, so it just helps you get extra damage in without even spending mana on it in positions like that. So I like the Esquire of the King quite a bit. Really easy Westfold Rider, literally the only on-color card, and it's a solid one. I don't think I need a million Esquire of the Kings, like 1 or 2 is always pretty good. So I'm actually going to take Reprieve over Esquire here, even though we're a little bit low on creatures currently. I think we're actually doing pretty good on the creature to non-creature ratio generally. So I'll take the Reprieve. Very nice card to just slow your opponent down and annoy them. Not a huge fan of the Blade, as I said before, but now that we have an Aowen, maybe we are supposed to play a couple Blades to get the First Strike plus Vigilance at the same time, but usually one or the other of those effects is pretty much just as good as giving something both, so I don't think it's that important to have equipment alongside Aowen. I'll just take the combat trick there. Very easy Eastmark Cavalier now. Get rid of our Rangers of Athelion. Scoop up a Nimble Hobbit, and we are just about done with the deck, and we have a whole third pack to go to find more playables. We've got 21 out of 23 non-land cards for the deck. Feels like an excellent spot to be as we push into pack number 3, just improving the deck, improving the mana curve, improving the removal spells. That's kind of what we want the most here, so see if we can't find some nice additions in our third pack. Alright, pack 3, pick 1. I do like Minas Tirith. I've played it once before. I've never even activated it though, and the last time I played it was another nice black-white tokens deck, and even in that deck I never found the opportunity to activate it, so I'd rather just take the consistent Errand Rider of Gondor for a nice way to keep committing creatures to the board while staying ahead in card advantage thanks to its card draw ability when it hits the board, keeping us fueled with more creatures to dump out on the board. And again, fits into our curve really nicely where we only have 2 3-mana cards right now. Let's grab a third. Let's grab an Errand Rider of Gondor. Alright, pack 3, pick 2. We'll definitely take an Uruk-hai Berserker. We got to get a few more ways for the Ring to tempt us to be excited about the ones that we currently have, and Uruk-hai Berserker is a fantastic one to do that, since it does it just when it enters the battlefield. That'll up us to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ways for the Ring to tempt us. We ideally want to be at like 7+, because some of the ways for the Ring to tempt us in this deck are kind of inconsistent, like having to sacrifice Boromir and having to play Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin. So we do want to find 1 or 2 more cards for the Ring to tempt us to get to that level 2 pretty often. So we're hoping for that. East Farthing Farmers, super reasonable here. We don't have any Amass right now for the Grand, so not going to be a super good card. If you're manually crewing Grand, it's just not good. If Grand is always going to be a 5/5 trample just by having an army on board, Grand's pretty playable, but definitely not good here. We'll take an East Farthing Farmer. Another Errand Rider of Gondor, super easy pick there. Mirkwood Bats would be okay in this deck because it works really well with Oath of the Grey Host, but in other positions, sometimes it's just not going to do very much. Errand Rider of Gondor is pretty much always going to do good stuff, even if we don't have a legend on board. It'll be solid. Stalwarts of Osgiliath, I think I'll take that over Hobbit Sting. Pretty close, because I do want more removal, but Hobbit Sting is kind of narrow removal. I only have a Lash and a Claim right now. This is a hard choice, because I really want more Ring Tempts, and I really want more removal. Our Curve could definitely use another 5-drop as well, if we get a little slower, a little more mid-rangey. I'm going to take the Stalwarts over the Sting, but I don't feel excellent about that, because I think both are important cards. Another East Farthing Farmer now. But taking a second Stalwarts means we can probably cut a Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin. Definitely take a Nasty End for some card draw, since we're a non-blue deck. We don't have a lot naturally. I think I'd rather take Took Reaper than Westfold Rider for a little bit more ring tempting. But I do like Westfold Rider a good amount. Very easy Esquire the King copy number 2. Don't think I need copy number 3. Let's take another Took Reaper, and then we can drop like the Nimble Hobbits here. Or Took Reapers. Could also play a Barrow Blade with Eowyn. Could be okay. I'd rather have another Took Reaper. There's second breakfast, probably cutting those. I guess I'll just leave all the on-color cards in, and we'll discuss the cuts when we get to deck building. I like to naturally kind of build my deck as I go while I draft, usually, but we'll keep it all separated for the video today. So anybody who skips the deck building portion can get all the card evaluations there. I don't think we'll be playing 3 Esquires, but I'm definitely not going to play the 4-mana Flying Spirit thing. I forgot its name because I don't ever play it. Soldier of the Grey Host, that's its name. Alright. So we have 36 cards. We get to cut like 11 to 13 cards here, depending on if we play 15 to 17 lands. I think we are going to play 17 lands here with the amount of ring tempting that we have. We should be able to draw, discard a card late game. And I've got some pretty important 5-6 drops. Alright, 53 out of 40 cards. Let's go ahead and move all of our non-creature cards into their own pile. Since if I sort them on top of each other by sorting by creature in the search bar, the arena's going to lag out. On the build that I'm currently on, or on the patch that I'm currently on. Okay, so we are at 23 creatures. I like to be at like 17 creatures and 17 creatures and what, like 6 non-creature spells in my general relatively aggressive deck. Like somewhere between mid-range and aggro. That's where I generally fall in draft most of the time, and that's definitely where this deck looks to be. So I think we want to be at like 17 creatures again here, which means, especially with Oath of the Grey Host kind of counting as another creature, we can cut 6 or 7 creatures. So let's focus on that first, get our curve of creatures as strong as possible. Again, the Nimble Hobbits are good ring bearers, but that's about all they do well, so I'm going to cut those out as some of the least flexible cards. I think I want to keep all of the other 2-drops in, though, so that we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2-mana creatures, especially since Samwise is a card that we don't generally want to just slam down turn 2. If I have nothing else in my hand early game, I'm still going to do it, because a 2-1 flash that enters the battlefield and has the Ring Tempt Us is still good. It's just not as incredible as Sam could be later in the game. So keep that in mind. I definitely don't think we need 3 Esquire the King. I'll cut down to 2, and we might even drop down to 1 later, depending on how good our other creatures are, how much we don't want to cut them. I like all of our 3-mana creatures with Boromir, double East Farthing Farmer, Eowyn, double Errand Rider, and Uruk-hai Berserker. I think these are all great cards in general. So a little rough to have to cut some of these for curve purposes, but I think I am going to cut some for the mana curve. And I think East Farthing Farmer is the weakest of all of the 3-drops. Again, not that it's a bad card. It is good filler. It is above average for sure. But the rest of our 3-drops are pretty much all exceptional cards. Just a bit better than the East Farthing Farmers there. So drop the Soldier of the Grey Host as well, because I'm just not a huge fan of the card. Good enter the battlefield effect, but from that point on, it just becomes a very overcosted flyer. So we'll drop that, and that puts us at how many creatures? 17, right on the dot, plus an Oath of the Grey Host, which is kind of like 18 creatures. But I think it's okay to be a little creature heavy here. I don't think I need to immediately cut an 18th creature. I think this looks like a solid creature curve to me. So we're at 47 cards now, so we're probably going to cut 7 cards in any combination of non-creature spells and lands. Easy way to start that here, which is nice, is to just cut 2 Inherited Envelope, since we aren't splashing anything. Yeah, the Ring Tempts You was decent value, but 3 mana to do nothing but have the Ring Tempt Us, that's pretty horrible. That's definitely overcosted. Couple second breakfasts are also pretty expensive combat tricks. They can be absolute blowouts in the right position, but it's going to be sitting just rotting in your hand, waiting to find the perfect opportunity to be cast. So it's not the greatest. We'll drop those. I'm also not a huge fan of Orcish Medicine as a combat trick. I definitely prefer the Escape from Orthanc, just for the relative efficiency of the card only being 1 mana is a pretty big deal. Also, Dundane Blade, sure, it's fine with Eowyn, but without Eowyn, not super excited about equipment in this format in general, even with a solid human count like we have here. What do we got? 12 humans? I mean, I don't know, 12 humans, we might keep it in. There's definitely a selection of cards we could cut here. There's like these 4, and we only need to cut 3. I think I am going to keep 17 lands in here, because again, if we can get a level 2 Ring Bearer, we can filter out of any mana flood relatively easily, but we can't filter out of mana screw. So make sure we have enough lands to hit up to 4 mana on the curve pretty consistently, and if we flood out a bit, we discard those cards to Ring Bearers. So that's the idea there. So with this pile of cards as the potential cuts, we're going to keep one of these. I guess a kind of easy way to do this would be to see how many cards we have in here that have the Ring Tempt Us, to see how badly we want to keep Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin in here, just for the Ring Tempting Us alongside its +1/+1 counters there. Let's see. Ring... I can't type. Ring Tempts You. Let's find out. As we wait for the 1 FPS to catch up, there we go. So without Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin, we still have 2 Took Reapers, a Samwise, Boromir, Uruk-hai Berserker, and 2 Stalwarts of Osgiliath, plus Acclaim the Precious. That's 8 cards total where the Ring tempts us, 6 of which are very consistent. I guess really 5 are consistent. Claim the Precious, the 2 Stalwarts, the Uruk-hai Berserker, and the Samwise. Those are all really consistent ways for the Ring to tempt us, because they just do it when they hit the board or when we cast the spell. The Took Reapers and the Boromir are certainly less consistent. A Took Reaper has to die, which is not something that we can actively choose when it happens. And Boromir also has to basically die. We have to have an opportunity to sacrifice Boromir for value, so... I think that's enough that we don't need Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin to get good value off of the ring. But we do have 2 Protector of Gondor spreading the board wide, 1 Oath of the Grey Host. Now for Wrath could be fine. And it is a card that's kind of like better the more ring bearing you have, the more ring tempting you have. Since when we draw it in an opportunity or in a position where we don't have a lot of creatures on the board, we can just loot it away. Draw a card, discard it. Yeah, you know what? I mean, I've said it a lot in these drafts, but I really, really like having the Ring Tempt Us a lot, so I'm going to drop these 3 and keep the Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin. I should have turned off the search bars so it doesn't go to 0 frame rate again. Playing Magic off a PowerPoint presentation. There we go. Slap it in there, and I think that's what we're going to do. We'll keep that in there mainly for the ring tempting, but in the right position, the card is very good. The problem is super bad when you're behind and when you're just setting up in the early game. But it can really push you ahead in the right position, and with enough ring tempting, with enough ring bearers to draw a card and discard a card, and with some errand riders that if we don't have a legend on board, this also loots a card away, so we could draw a card and then just put the Now for Wrath on bottom if we've drawn it at the wrong time. So we've got some ways to ditch it if we draw it at an inopportune moment, so hopefully it'll play out pretty well here. I guess we'll find out soon enough. I'm going to call it a deck there. Alright, here we have a look at today's deck, which is going to be a black-white, aggro-y, mid-rangey deck here. We've got a lot of token production here, we've got a great curve of creatures, and hopefully we can just curve out pretty well and do some nice stuff throughout the game. So lots of different elements that are making this deck play out pretty well generally, in my mind at least. We've got some token production with cards like Protector of Gondor and Oath of the Grey Host to go pretty wide, as well as just having a high creature count and a good curve to consistently slam down creatures. So with a wide board state, we can probably try to get around our opponent's threats and beat them down pretty quickly. We also have some cards to leverage that wide board state with cards like Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin, buffing everybody on the board. Combat trick with Escape from Orthanc, letting us send in with everybody and then just use this trick on whatever gets blocked so that nobody dies during that combat. We also have 2 Esquire of the King to buff the whole board, which is great when our board state is wide. A lot of stuff like that to jam in for a lot of damage pretty quickly. So that is kind of the aggro element of the deck. For the more mid-rangey elements, the stuff that helps us grind out a longer game, primarily there's a lot of ring tempting, so that we can have some ring bearers at level 2, getting us the cards we need with that draw a card, discard a card ability. We've got Samwise having the ring tempt us when he hits the board, Took Reapers doing it when they die, Boromir when we sacrifice him, Uruk-hai Berserker when he enters the battlefield, and double Stalwarts of Osgiliath also having the ring tempt us when they hit the board. We've also got Claim the Precious and Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin having the ring tempt us when we cast them. So that stuff is going to help us get a level 2 ring bearer on the board, get a lot of card draw, drawing and discarding, setting up our draws, making sure that we keep hitting gas throughout the game. We've also got one big finisher with Voracious Fellbeast and some decent interaction. Not as much removal as I'd hoped for, but one Lash of the Balrog, one Claim the Precious for removal spells, and a Reprieve to slow our opponent down. So looks like a pretty solid deck today, pretty fancy stuff, pretty nice just synergies overlapping in different little areas here that can help us out a lot, and hopefully it all plays out as well as it does in my head, but we'll find out soon enough as we head into the gameplay and see how it does. Here we are for game 1 of round 1 on the play with a really good curve. We can go Esquire into Samwise into Uruk-hai Berserker. Probably do want to just curve these things out, because then on turn 3 we'll have a level 2 ring bearer attacking. A little sad to lose out on the graveyard recursion value of Samwise, but I think it'll be worth it here to just curve out on the play nice and aggressively and start that looting off early. Well, now we have Escape from Orthanc to play around Deceive the Messenger. It doesn't play incredibly around it. I think I'd rather just Samwise if they deceive us. Alright, they don't have Deceive the Messenger, so it doesn't matter. Deceive the Messenger is probably Blue's just like best 1-mana play. It's just a 1-mana instant to give something -3/-0 until end of turn and Amass 1. So it's a really good way to snipe 1/1s, 2/1s, 3/1s, if you're lucky. We are playing against a blue-red deck. This could be a pretty scary matchup. They did play a mountain here, so now they could have a counterspell up for Samwise. We'll find out. If they counter Samwise, they don't have a counter up for Berserker, so we get a slightly bigger creature on the board, which is nice. Okay, they didn't counter Samwise. Now I could play Boromir, but I'd rather have the ring tempt us this turn, so let's drop Uruk-hai Berserker pre-combat so we can draw a card, discard a card off the attack. Probably having to get rid of the Fellbeast if I don't hit another land. If I do, I might get rid of the Escape from Orthanc, since we'll be at 4 out of 6 mana. Probably keep it on the Esquire because they could have 2/1s and stuff in their deck. I'm tempted to put it on Samwise to play around Deceive the Messenger, killing our bigger creature, because you can't Deceive the Messenger and kill a ring bearer, because if you make the ring bearer have 0 power or less, you can't block it with anything. So there was that consideration there. But we should probably just keep the ring bearer on the smallest creature to guarantee it gets in for more swings. Alright, Hithlane Knots, they're going to tap the ring bearer so we don't get our draw and discard trigger this turn. That's fine. I do like everything in my hand, so I'm not desperately trying to draw a card and discard a card right now. But it would still be nice. Probably drop the Voracious Fellbeast. But definitely not disastrous to not be able to attack with our ring bearer that turn. Here's an Elrond for a 3/2 blocker. Escape from Orthanc should be pretty nice here. Win whatever combat they try to trade off in. We do hit a land, so now we can discard the land to the Esquire. Instead, hit a Stalwarts of Osgiliath though, so I think I dropped the 6-drop. We can work our way to a 5-drop much easier, especially if I keep the land. Because keeping the land lets me play Escape from Orthanc here to beat Elrond, and play a land in Boromir in the same turn. And then I'm only 1 mana away from Stalwarts of Osgiliath. So if I draw another card, we get to play that down. And as long as I can maintain a ring bearer on the board, I don't really need to worry about like flooding into 6 lands here. to where we don't ever really have to feel bad about discarding the Voracious Fellbeast, because I can just discard all the lands. That would have gotten me to 6 mana anyway. Alright, so there is my 5th mana, which means I can play Stalwarts of Osgiliath to move the ring here. If I just attack with Esquire, it's going to die. I guess if I play Stalwarts, I'm just going to mill one when I attack anyway with the Esquire. But I will get a counter on Stalwarts, so I'll still play it. I think I'm going to put the counter on Boromir so I can definitely get the... Let's just attack with the things that don't die. So I can definitely get the draw card, discard a card, trigger Stalwarts of Osgiliath, and this way, whenever they want to kill my Ring Bearer, I'm guaranteed to have a new Ring Bearer. Because they try to blow Boromir up with a removal spell and I sack it and put the ring somewhere else. So it feels pretty good. They are down to 11. The only creature we have that they can kill is Boromir, because we could sack Boromir to give everything else indestructible. Horses of the Bruinen, bounce Boromir and the Stalwarts of Osgiliath. So sack Boromir, we have a level 4 Ring Bearer. If I just replace Stalwarts, we have a level 4 Ring Bearer anyway. I think we replace Stalwarts then. Keep Boromir for later. Then Esquire hits them for 4 damage. Yeah, send everybody in, trade off the Uruk-hai Berserker seems fine. Drawn to a Lash of the Balrog, that's a good one. I'm guessing they're going to trade into Uruk-hai Berserker and take 6 damage here, go to 5. Trade into Samwise? That works too, I mean... They take 1 more damage, but clear out a legend instead. So it's theoretically harder to activate Esquire and some other stuff, but they know I have a Boromir in hand as well. So... yeah, I think they should just kill the biggest creature, which they did. In the end, they chose to kill the Uruk-hai Berserker. This has been a really nice game. Just the flow of all of our cards together, being able to make the most of all of our mana every turn. We've been really mana efficient. I think we've spent every single point of mana that we've had all game, which is always great. There's a press the enemy to bounce our Stalwarts of Osgiliath and cast an Arwen's Gift for free. They still are dead on board. That's 6 damage coming at them. So they gotta find something to burn away the Esquire. But even then, I just recast Stalwarts and make Samwise the Ring Bearer. Nice little flavor win in the end if that happens. Okay, they've got the Flamesmith to block the Samwise, but we just Lash the Balrog and kill them. And that'll be game. Even without the Lash, we put them to 1 life off this attack since they can't block the 1/1. Alright. Really like how this first game went. That was just an incredible showing from our deck. Once again, as I say in many of these drafts, showing off the power of those level 2 Ring Bearers to get those consistent plays throughout the game. Cycling out of the Fellbeast to hit some cheaper stuff. Finding the lands to get that Stalwarts down turn 5. So much good stuff happened with that draw and discard to just keep us going. So really liked that game. Our opponent's on blue-red spells. I'm not particularly scared of what we saw here, but I am scared of their archetype. So they might have just drawn into a weaker hand here. There are cards like Fiery Inscription that'll grind us out of the game. There are cards like Gandalf Sanction that'll shoot us for 1 million later. Definitely have to be worried about that kind of stuff. Don't think we have anything in our sideboard that's particularly good against that stuff. Nasty End's pretty good against Gandalf Sanction. We could throw that in, because it'll counter the Gandalf Sanction, so we take 0 damage if we have the Nasty End up at the right time. Might be a little narrow, but Nasty End's a fine card, even not in a position like that. We drop like a Now for Wrath for it. Be fine by me. Sure, I'll just cut like Now for Wrath for a Nasty End. That'll be our little sideboard there in case they have Gandalf Sanction. Don't have anything great against counterspells if they have a lot of counters. And I guess Nasty End plays really bad if they have Saruman's Trickery, but that's the only counterspell in the format that counters non-creatures, and it's an uncommon, so I'm not massively worried about that one. I'm much more worried about Glorious Gales and Stern Scoldings, because Glorious Gale is a common, and that's 2 different counterspells that hit creatures. Basically every counterspell in the format hits creatures, but again, I don't have anything to do about that to play around counters, so let's just have the Nasty End. We might have it at the right time against a Gandalf Sanction, and that would be pretty disgusting. Counter a Gandalf Sanction and draw 2 cards. Or 3 cards if we sack a Ring Bearer or a Legend. Alright, solid hand. Not as good as our hand in game 1 because we don't have a 1-mana play. And we're not like curving out, we're just playing a 2-drop and a 2-drop, but I still think it's pretty good. Now we've got the Stalwarts for turn 5, which should be great. I guess another thing we could have considered in sideboarding is since they're blue-red, they're not going to be super creature heavy, but our deck isn't very removal heavy anyway, so it's not super likely that we have a removal spell just stranded in our hand. We only have 2 removal spells in 1 combat trick, so there is the Glorious Gale for the Took Reaper. Definitely a bit disappointing. And there is Elrond again. I'll just drop a 2-2. 2-2 can trade into an Elrond. Elrond doesn't do anything super nasty unless they have 2 creatures enter the battlefield in 1 turn, which should be a little bit difficult for blue-red. But we'll see. Just drop our Eastmark Cavalier Pass from there. I'm not going to 2-for-1 myself to kill Elrond. Turn 4, it looks like we're just going to have to hold up Reprieve unless I draw something for 3 or 4 mana. Ooh, Bilbo? That is horrible. That is the best card we've seen them play so far. Plus, they have another creature on board for the Bilbo. That's a very bad time. So Bilbo is a super good Ring Bearer as a 1/3 body. Plus, Bilbo gives them a treasure every time he hits us. And if we do spend the removal on Bilbo, then they just make a different Ring Bearer anyway. So I'm going to threaten a combat trick here because there's no reason not to. Trading Cavalier into Elrond is just a good deal. And our worst case scenario is they just bounce off Bilbo. So beautiful, we get 2 damage in for free. And then we'll just drop Esquire, hold up Reprieve. Because of Bilbo's Leave the Battlefield ability, letting the Ring Tempt them again, I don't think it's worth doing that. It's definitely not worth 2-for-1ing ourselves to do that and sacking a creature. But even if I had the 5 mana, I think I'd rather just play Stalwarts right now. I think we gotta just let them get some treasure, which I'm not a huge fan of. That is real annoying. That'll have a level 2 Ring Bearer here. Yeah, let's soak up their 5 mana and draw a card. They'll have to do that again next turn. Claim the Precious, solid draw. Now we have 2 removal spells, so we might be able to kill Elrond and Bilbo, so that they just don't have a level 2 Ring Bearer after Bilbo dies. Boromir is the draw. So we play a Swamp, attack with Cavalier, threatening to buff it with Esquire of the King. So they can't block profitably at all here. I mean, they could just block with... No, they could block with Bilbo and then we just buff with Esquire. So yeah, that's what I was just saying. Oh, brain. Alright, so we do that. They're going to get one really good attack with a ring-bearing Elrond, but after that, we just blow up the Elrond and they don't have a ring-bearer anymore. So I think that's the play. I think we Lash of the Balrog the Bilbo, because if I claim, I can't do anything else with my mana this turn anyway, so we get the more expensive removal spell out of the way. In case I hit a land, I can play Boromir and claim. And then they horses our 2 creatures, then we kill Elrond. Because if they don't horses our creatures, we can just trade with Elrond with Cavalier on blocks. So this seems really good to me. Let's shoot Bilbo. Try to clear out all their ring bearers. So they go horses, attack, draw a card, discard a card. We draw for turn, we play Claim the Precious and Eastmark Cavalier if I don't draw land, and if we do draw land, we play Claim the Precious and Boromir. Should play the creature first, technically, so that we have a ring bearer on the board, even if it's just level 1. Just a little bit of extra value, so we'll make sure to sequence that correctly, but that is definitely the plan. We do hit a land, which is beautiful. I actually don't think I want to make Boromir a ring bearer with no other creatures on board yet. I'd rather play both of my creatures again and claim the Precious, and then play Boromir next turn. It's just as much damage on board. It's 3 power, just like if we played Boromir. And there's a Book of Mozerbul. That's annoying for our Esquire, but it's only a level 1 ring bearer anyway, so we don't have to attack with it to get any value. It's not till level 2 that we're worried about that. So we just play the Stalwarts and move the ring bearer over. That way we get to draw a card, discard a card, discard this land, and put a counter on Stalwarts. Second Glorious Gale here? No. But they've got something at instant speed, so they might blow up the Cavalier. Hopefully not. Maybe it's another Hithlane Knots to tap it? Nope. Not that either. Maybe Deceive the Messenger to beat it. They declare the block, then Deceive the Messenger, and that would win this fight. I don't know, I'm speculating a lot. Could be a lot of things. Oh, probably Deceive, it looks like. If they're declaring a block here, it's something that'll win this fight. Dreadful as the Storm. Ooh, level 4 ring bearer off that Dreadful. That's wild. So that's actually worse than Deceive would have been for them because of the nice little flavor text on Eastmark Cavalier, where it does get to destroy goblins and orcs no matter how big they are. So, super nice to kill that level 4 ring bearer. That's a big deal. And they do have Gandalf Sanction, so Nasty on sideboard was decent, but obviously we did not have it in hand or the mana to cast it at this point, regardless. So 1 card in hand and 1 creature on board to 1 card in hand and 1 creature on board. Ooh, but they Treason of Isengard, a Lorien revealed to the top of their deck? That is bad for me. This is super awkward, but I feel like I might have to sack Boromir just to get drawing and discarding cards here, because a 3/3 Vigilance is just bad against a 4/4, and they're about to draw 3. I think we might need a ring bearer badly enough. I'm just going to sack this. This could be extra bold, but I feel like playing off the top here with no amount of card draw, like we're just super dead. So at least now we get some draw and discard. If they draw into any removal, we're going to lose, but that would happen if I didn't crack Boromir, because then I just have a 3/3 against a 4/4. Anyway. Yeah, we have to do some digging here. We got to find something pretty quick, because a draw 3 is a big deal. So we don't have any removal left in our deck, I think. I've got a Voracious Fellbeast I could still draw onto to get rid of this 4/4. But it looks like mostly we're going to have to try to outrace it. If we can find some of our token producers, like Protectors and stuff, Or one of our Ring Tempt cards to make a level 4 Ring Bearer, that'd be good. And there we go. Make that Esquire level 4. Try to race here a bit. Just trying to draw into chump blockers now. Nasty End isn't horrible. Because now if they do get in a position where they can kill the Esquire, we sack it and draw 3 in response. Oh god. Birthday Escape to make their Orc a level 4 Ring Bearer? That's super, super bad for me. That's 7 damage a swing. I might have to chump with Berserker and Nasty End on the chump now. Oh god, they have a Rivendell too, so they get to scry 2 every turn. They get to scry 2, draw a card, discard a card, and attack me with basically a 7/4 every turn now. I hit for 7 on the crackback here. I take 7, go to 5. I know I don't die to a Gandalf Sanction because I have Nasty End. I might take this one time, because if I hit any creatures, I can double block and kill their Ring Bearer next turn. So I think I need to hold off for that. Tempting to just find a creature to actually clear out the Ring Bearer instead of chump it over and over and over. It's a big hit. Big hit. There's a Nimberdell Watcher with the Rivendell on board. One of the 2 cards in their whole deck we've seen that scries. I guess 3 Elrond horses. Oh my god, alright. That's pretty deadly. Well, we can sack the Esquire and draw 3 here and look for some outs, but a second Horses the Bruinen is super bad. Land, Took Reaper. These are not great. Alright, so they've got a lot of scry then. So they've got 2 horses, a Rivendell, an Elrond, and a Hithlane Knots. Another land. Rough. It really matters what I choose here. Because they just scry with Rivendell and we just take 6. Because we can't block the Nimberdell Watcher. Yeah, Rivendell plus Nimberdell Watcher is pretty disgusting. We're just dead. They just scry with Rivendell. Nimberdell Watcher's unblockable. They hit us for 6. Alright. 7, 10. I think we can definitely win this matchup. The Horses of the Bruinen are some of their biggest, scariest cards. They drew much better stuff this game for sure. We saw their scary cards this time. Bilbo, Horses, Gandalf Sanction, a second copy of Horses of the Bruinen. Pretty good stuff there. But they're still pretty low creature count, which is good because we don't have a lot of removal, but with the little bit of removal we have, we can go ahead and clear out their Ring Bearers, hopefully. And we still get that excellent Ring Tempting going on pretty consistently because they don't have a ton of removal themselves. They've got a Glorious Gale and some bounce spells, but Gandalf Sanction, I think, is the only actual like burn spell, removal spell we've seen in both games. And this game, they've drawn like 3/4 of their library. So I think this matchup is solid, especially since we get to be on the play here. So we can do some stuff. I will keep the Nasty End in. I think it's decent against Horses because one of the things that Horses is really good at is bouncing one of our Ring Bearers so that we don't have a Ring Bearer anymore. And if an Esquire of the King loses its ability to be a Ring Bearer, it's much less useful anyway. So just sacking it to draw 3 if they have the Horses is good. And then the Nasty End's also just great against Gandalf Sanction. So that definitely stays in. I don't really like throwing in equipment. I think I just want to keep that creature count pretty high in general. So I think I'm pretty confident with the way our deck is already. I mean, maybe I cut like a land since we did flood out a little there, but we've really consistently had level 2 Ring Bearers to draw and discard and filter out of extra lands. So Not super confident on that. If I do, it would be just like cut a plains for another Esquire or something. It's the only real change I would see being potentially great here. I did like Reprieve against them because they've got those big 5-mana horses to bounce. Slow them down. Yeah, I'm just going to run it back. The only change, again, that I think would be maybe for the best is just another Esquire for a land. But I'm pretty happy, pretty confident with this deck. Gotta hope to draw well and play well here for game number 3 of round 1. Alright, here we are for the final game on the play. No 1-drop creature, no 2-drop creature. That's pretty rough. We want to be as aggressive as possible in this matchup. So not an excellent opening hand for us, but we can't really afford to mulligan it away as the mana is good. And the plays are good. Once we hit them, they're just pretty slow, which is a huge bummer. So, already not where I wanted to be game 3, but we'll see how we draw here. We'll see how bad our opponent's hand is for us. They've got like double horses and a Gandalf Sanction or something. We're probably just dead. Could Reprieve the Flamesmith to just draw a card here, but I don't think that's necessary. I already have a good 3-drop play, and now I drew an even better one anyway. So now we have Eowyn into an Errand Rider to get a full-on just piece of card draw out of the Errand Rider. That should be pretty great. Phial of Galadriel, okay. That is a really, really scary card, because if the game goes long and they dump their hand, they are going to just guaranteed draw 2 cards a turn instead of 1 card a turn, which is really hard to outpace. But they're in like the least scary archetype for that card. Because blue-red has like counter spells and stuff that are going to get stuck in their hand potentially. And they'll be hard to empty their whole hand and get that to start drawing them extra cards. Plus they don't have any life gain in blue or red, so they won't get the extra life gain out of it. Just the card draw, but just the card draw is really good. So we gotta try to get some counter spells stranded in their hand ideally. And this will play really well if they just keep playing more card draw like Lembas, then the Phial's just not going to do that part. But even a 3-mana Mana Rock isn't terrible. So, even if it never triggers, it's not like we really got one over on them. It's just that we didn't get like completely destroyed by the Phial. We do have a Westfold Rider in this deck. We didn't draw it at all game 1 or game 2, but they didn't play any important artifacts game 1 or game 2 anyway, but that is worth noting. That could be something that could be quite helpful for us. Could be excellent this game. If I play Stalwarts of Osgiliath, I'm not drawing an extra card this turn. If I play Oath, it's pretty slow. I think I'd rather play Oath when they have mana up to play around Glorious Gale, because they can't Glorious Gale in Oath, but they can Glorious Gale as Stalwarts. So even though I won't be drawing any extra cards right now and Stalwarts isn't incredible, I will still play it for now. And I'm just going to make it the Ring Bearer so that I have 2 legends on board in case I draw my second Errand Rider or one of my cards that gives everybody +1/+1. Because again, since their deck is so low on creatures, I don't think we really care too much about the unblockability of the first thing, so we need to just focus on where do we want a legend. So let's make sure Stalwarts is a legend. They're going to bounce Eowyn and hold up the 2 mana to counter her. Oh, reprieving a Glorious Gale would be disgusting here. It would be so good. Because we draw a second card during our turn off of Reprieve to make Stalwarts bigger, and we strand their counterspell in their hand when we have no more creatures in hand after that. That's definitely the play. So they're planning on galing Eowyn. Oh no, they're just going to Gandalf Sanction. Okay. Oh, that's fair enough. Never mind. I'm gonna say that would make sense for the Gale. They're just gonna. That's an early sanction. Well, I'll take it. We've got 6 mana here. We can play Eowyn, Esquire, and hold up Reprieve. Esquire can trade into the Flamesmith on blocks. Do that. We'll threaten to do that. Again, just slam down all our creatures while they're tapped out. Trying to keep that Gale locked in their hand. I guess they could just discard it to the draw and discard to get towards that File of Galadriel. Not going to put Eowyn at any risk. I definitely could, because I do have the Reprieve, but they've got enough mana they can probably cast whatever they're trying to do twice. Okay, they can't do that twice. So only have 2 mana after this? Yeah, Reprieve that. Alright, I guess blocking with Eowyn would have went better. But again, I really didn't want to put her at risk. Such a solid card. The trade is still good for us, even if it isn't as good as just killing the Flamesmith without losing a creature. Aw, they do have another creature? Well, we'll lash that after it becomes a 3/3. I'll drop the Took Reaper and the Oath here, I think. I don't need to hold up Escape from Orthanc right now. And if they attack in with the army, I'll just chump with Took Reaper. And then we lash next turn. It's possible they just Dreadful as the Storm pre-combat to make their thing a Ring Bearer. And try to dump out their whole hand here. Just play a land, a Dreadful as the Storm, and whatever their other card is to start drawing off a File of Galadriel. Could be the play. We don't know what the other 2 cards are, so we don't know if they can do that, but if it's an option, it's probably their best one. Because if they dump their whole hand and then attack with a Ring Bearer, then they draw 2, discard 1. Okay, they just do this. If they Dreadful me, I take 8, go to 5. They have a second Gandalf Sanction. Do I die on the spot? I go down to 5, and then I take 5 damage, because they'll have a 6th instant or sorcery in their grave, because they're Dreadful. And they shoot the Took Reaper. I'm not in love with this, but I'm going to play around them having another Gandalf Sanction. Because Dreadful as the Storm makes this a 5/5 with 3 counters on it, so it's 8 damage, I go to 5, then they Gandalf Sanction 1 to Took Reaper, 5 to my face. Okay, they are going to Dreadful anyway, even though it doesn't change that at all. And then a Nimerdal Watcher is the next card. And a land, so the file is active, which is a nightmare. So they drew File of Galadriel and none of their Glorious Gales this game. That's such a bummer. If they did draw one, they could have drawn it and discarded it off of the Ring Bearer, so they could have gotten out of it anyway, but it would have been nice to see some amount of tension there, which is afforded to playing File of Galadriel in the blue-red counterspell deck. Just Vigilance to Eowyn, get our card draw going, kill their Ring Bearer. They're down to 11. It's anyone's game here. Like, we look ahead right now, but they're drawing 2 cards a turn, so I think they are actually slightly ahead. Ooh, Fellbeast? I need the swamp then. Oh no, I don't have a treasure. I've got nothing good to sack to the Lash right now. So I can't Fellbeast and Lash this turn. So I think I have to just Lash this turn. So discard the swamp still have Escape from Orthanc and just lash their Ring Bearer, and then next turn we Fell Beast. If they're just gonna draw a Gale out of these 2 cards. Because now there's 2 Gales in these 22 cards, since they didn't hit it in the top 18. We know they have at least 2 Gales, I believe, if I recall correctly. Maybe I'm supposed to slam down Fell Beast while they're tapped out, but then they get 3/3 Ring Bearer attacking in, and if they play the 2 cards they draw from File, then when they attack with their army, they draw 2, discard 1, which is so much better than draw 1, discard 1. It's just massively important to kill this right now. Not important enough to sack AO and play Fell Beast, I think. But important enough to get God if they have a Glorious Gale in the top 2 cards. I will definitely be very salty about it, though. I'm preempting it. I'm already juicing up the salt levels. Morton's got nothing on me right now. Well, basically no if they drew it, because if they drew anything else, they're going to play both cards with File of Galadriel on board. I mean, they have a Hithlay Knots in their deck, so we can't know for sure, but if it's like land counterspell, they just play land pass. If it's land Hithlay Knots, they also just play land pass. So again, I guess there's no way to really know. If they pass without playing anything, then they almost definitely hit one. Because if either of these is a land, they play it immediately with a File of Galadriel on board. And if they're sorcery speed, they want to play one now. Get out of the way for File. Well, opponent thought for about a minute and then passed. So let's see. Press the enemy to bounce my oath. Okay. So that we don't get the 1/1 flyers. And Hithlay Knots on Eowyn. And now they get to draw, scry 1, draw 2. That's pretty incredible. So they draw another 2 before I get to play Fell Beast. I swear to God. We have 7 mana total, which is not enough to bait out a Took Reaper. I can't play a Took... So if they have a counterspell to counter a creature in their hand, they would 100% slam dunk counter Took Reaper to get it out of their hand for File of Galadriel. So if I had 8 mana, it would be beautiful. I just play Took Reaper and then I play Fell Beast, but I don't. So I either Fell Beast right now or I go Took Reaper Oath. Which means I have to be ready to take another 3, potentially a lot if they make it Ring Bearer. Go Took Reaper Oath. That was a suspiciously long waiting time. Alright, just eat a food at this point. Actually, if they waited to eat the food, they might have gotten 6 life out of it. If they waited till they were at 5 or less. But I guess they've got another food. Okay. They need to scry to get Nimmerdale Watcher in, otherwise I just trade with Took Reaper. If they had a Glorious Gale, they should have just countered Took Reaper with File of Galadriel on board. So unless they top decked it now, they probably don't have one. Although now they're scrying 1 and drawing again. Which means Nimmerdale Watcher's unblockable again. There's Elrond. So anytime they play a creature, they'll scry for the Nimmerdale Watcher. Okay, can't block that. Down to 7. They have 1 card in their hand. If it's not instant speed, they should dump it now for the Phial of Galadriel. Although now the Felbeast doesn't even kill the Nimmerdale Watcher, but I have 6 life worth of food, so that's probably fine. It's an Uruk-hai Berserker. I am once again 1 mana off from playing my creature that is smaller than Felbeast and then playing Felbeast, which is incredibly disappointing. I think we have to just play Felbeast and hope that their 1 card in hand is not Glorious Gale. Now I could play both, and playing both is solid. I have to worry about dying to them making the Ring Tempt them, though. If the Ring Tempts them, if they play Horses the Bruinen or something next turn, Nimmerdale Watcher goes to 3 power, hits for 6. I'm not quite dead to Horses the Bruinen if I still have a blocker on board when they cast it. So I think I go for Berserker plus Felbeast here. Rather than holding the mana up to eat a food. I'm dead if they have a second sanction, but we saw 1 last round and 0 round 1. Oh, we play Berserker first. Okay. Put it on the Took Reaper so they can't get rid of our Ring Bearer. Felbeast resolves. There goes Elrond. Alright, 7 life and a dream. They sack the Nimmerdale Watcher and not the Elrond. They're going to try to play 2 creatures to make a Ring Bearer again? Oh, actually, yeah, if they Horses, I'm not going to be able to block here, so I will take 6. Because they can Horses back my 3 and 2 power creature. Draw 3 from Lorien Revealed. Land for turn, they've got 4 mana up. It's not enough for a Horses. There's a Quarrel's End. Draw 2, get a 1/1. Get a Scry. They only have 1 mana up now. And now I can eat 3 food tokens? Puts us up to like 16. There's a Westfold Rider for the Phial, a little bit late. At this point, I think I would rather just keep the Westfold Rider on board as a 3/1. So Took Reaper trades into the 1/1, but then I move the Ring Bearer over, which is a big deal. I have 7 mana? Takes 6 mana to eat all my food. What do I want to give Vigilance to? Probably Eowyn, because we want something that's good at blocking small Ring Bearers. And Eowyn is the smallest creature in terms of power that we have outside of Took Reaper. And Took Reaper might just die to the 1/1. Yeah. Go to combat. Vigilance on Eowyn. Attack with everybody, draw and discard a card and see if we hit something better than Westfold Rider. I think Samwise is better than Westfold Rider currently. Because then I can eat 2 foods and flash in a blocker. Okay, if they do this, I might not flash in Samwise. I might just play Samwise this turn if creatures are dying. I guess they have to not die. They have to block at least one thing. Make a ring-bearing flyer. Samwise back. I could hit the Oath of the Grey Host. That's important to remember in the future, but I'm going to pick up Uruk-hai Berserker, but I'm just going to eat food. I'm just going to go to 13. They have to find a way to deal 13 to me this way, and 1 Sanction doesn't do it. They would need Sanction and some other stuff. Because Sanction would deal... There's 10 in their grave right now, so it would deal 9 damage to me if they shot a 1 toughness card. So again, our board state's good enough. If I just don't die, we'll kill them next turn. So let's just not die. Let's just eat some food now. Scry to the top. We might just be dead. I feel like you wouldn't scry to the top unless it's going to kill us, or if it's card draw. Treason of Isengard on Gandalf Sanction. That doesn't kill us. Birthday Escape to draw Sanction. They have another instant or sorcery to drop, we're dead. But I'm at 13. And that will deal 11. Alright, well they gotta go for it. That'll deal 10 to my face and 1 to my bird. Well, my spirit. So we'll stay at 3 life. And they're at 5. They scoop them up. That is going to end the game. A really close, really hard fought battle for the kind of the entirety of round 1 there. All right. Nice way to start it off. A 2-1 victory in round 1. We're going to start things off 1-0 as we head into round number 2 of 3. And here we are for game 1 of round 2, where we win the coin flip again. We get to start things off on the play, which is quite nice. This hand is definitely awkward, but Errand Rider of Gondor can ditch one of these lands to draw another card. So I am going to keep it here. If our Errand Rider of Gondor gets countered, that'll be a big issue, and our opponent has played an Island turn 1, Mountain turn 2, good old blue-red spells, turn 2 Glorious Gale every time. No Glorious Gale this time, I lied. But it is blue-red again, twice in a row here. See if we can't run it back. Oath of the Grey Host into Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin should be really good. They're blue, red, and black. They could have Sauron in there, the big mythic rare that makes an army whenever we cast any spell. Yeah, Swarming of Moria. Don't really want to trade my Errand Rider into that, so I'm not going to attack this turn, because I also don't want to spend 1 mana instead of 4, right? Because if I attack and they do block, then I kind of have to escape from Orthanc, which means I do nothing else with my remaining 3 mana. So better to stay mana efficient and drop the Oath. Oh my god, they're doing the thing, Surrounded by Orcs. The Surrounded by Orcs mill deck, drafted that a couple times in early access. It was super fun. Luckily for us, we have the Claim the Precious, so we should be fine here, but there is an element of fear being added to this game now. Because that'll amass 3 and mill us equal to their army's power over and over, so they might just be blue, black, red, just every amass card. Keep making 1 gigantic army and milling us over and over. Quarrel's End, discard a card, draw 2 and make a 1/1. As far as I recollect, we've got no better way to use the food token than just eating it, so let's get the mana investment out of the way. And let's go ahead. And Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin to have a level 2 Ring Bearer, so we can draw a card and discard a card. Please no Saruman's Trickery. I will cry. Ooh, wow. Main deck Cast into the Fire is pretty good against us. Guess I should probably escape one of these because it's saving basically a 2/2 flyer. They've still got a 1 mana play too. Guess we'll find out what it is. I am going to draw a card and discard a card here. That feels pretty important to me. Eowyn is the draw. Pretty sweet one. Can't cast her this turn, only have 2 mana up if I play my land, so I'll just hold off. Keep the land to discard again next turn. Alright, our board state's pretty good. They might have something for 1 mana, or they're just playing in full control mode. Deceive the Messenger or something. Probably Deceive the Messenger. They seem pretty heavy on the Amass cards. And Deceive the Messenger definitely amasses. This is a matchup we are probably also going to get Gandalf sanctioned for 1,000,000, because they've played 0 non-sorcery spells. Another land, definitely not what I'm looking for. They deceive, they make our Errand Rider a 1/3. So if they deceive, they block with both creatures, then make Errand Rider a 1/3. So it kills their 1/1 and dies to 3 damage. If I give Errand Rider first strike here, and then attack with it, it doesn't die to deceive. They need an additional play to kill it. Because I can first strike away the 1/1, and then the Errand Rider takes 2 damage from the 2/2. Uruk-hai Berserker's an excellent draw. Now I don't even have to be worried about Errand Rider dying to a trick of some kind. That would be fine. We'll just make a new Ring Bearer. Improvised Club is the play. Gonna go ahead and kill the Eowyn. Okay, let's make a flyer a Ring Bearer. I definitely need to keep committing creatures to the board against my opponent that's at 5 life. Gotta keep that pressure on. As much as it would be nice to have that Ring Tempt in case my Ring Bearer dies, I think it's important to get another 3-power creature on the board and try to beat in. Oh yeah, I guess they do gain the 3 from our Oath, giving them a food. So they're at 8, but still I think important enough to keep spitting creatures out on the board to play the Berserker. It's pretty close though. It's pretty close though because, again, it is very, very nice to be able to move our Ring Bearer if they kill our first one. So now just like a burn spell on our 2/2 flyer would be really good for them. Stalwarts of Osgiliath though, so I still have a way to move the ring. If I play this pre-combat, I hit them for a bunch of extra damage if they don't have removal, and that gets a counter. I think I actually should have put the ring on the Berserker, weirdly enough, because then we probably just kill them here. And they're taking 5 in the sky, blocking 2 of these, taking 7 in the sky. Yeah, this is still fine. Alright, there's the concession. So, very similar to last round overall. I feel like we didn't get to see their scariest cards, but they're in blue-red primarily. Looks like Splashing Black off of Swarming and a little bit of Swamps. Doesn't make a ton of sense though, because they've got Mortar Muster, which is a cheap black card. The only blue card we saw was Surrounded, so maybe the red-black splash the blue. Would make a lot of sense for them to be running Gandalf Sanction. The vast majority of their deck is instants and sorceries that we've seen. So I think another matchup where Nasty End is super reasonable. They also seem more removal heavy than our last opponent, so Nasty End is solid against removal as well. What is super bad here? I still like removal. Being able to clear out that gigantic army before it gets too big for surrounded by orcs is still a big deal. So I'm going to keep the removal spells in here. Yeah, I think it's really just Nasty End, maybe an Orcish Medicine. Anything terrible? Reprieve's pretty good against that 6-drop Elephant. Could be solid against other stuff. I liked how Escape played against removal. I like pretty much everything else in the deck. Maybe it's Now for Wrath? I mean, we had the kind of dream Now for Wrath hand there, so while it did play excellently that game, it's because we had it right after an Oath of the Grey Host, and it's always going to play excellently then. Other hands where we don't have the Oath popping out, it's probably still is the weakest link. Maybe just like one Took Reaper or something, but I want to keep that curve low too. Keeping things aggro. Yeah. Sorry now for Wrath Now for I literally named the deck around it, and it's just like the first card I cut every time that I'm sideboarding in and out of stuff. I guess there's that whole aspect of when you're on the draw, you always dig one card deeper to potentially hit lands, so you could always like cut a land on the draw. There's that to consider. I don't think we can keep this. Yes, I'm on the draw. But I have to hit a land twice in a row to really be in this game. If I do, this is like a slam dunk. We probably just win. But if I miss one land in my first two draw steps, we're going to be rolling out really slowly. If I miss like two lands, we just kind of lose most likely. I'm going to mulligan here. This is better, but still bad. All right, well, I guess we don't cut a land on the draw. Judging by these hands here. I mean, they're just statistically unlikely. It happens. One lander into two lander it is, both of which have multiple 4, 5, 6 mana plays. Alright, turn 2 Pelargir Survivor. I can already tell this game is going much better for them so far. Pelargir Survivor is an incredible way to start a game with any deck that's full of instants and sorceries. And they've got the muster to draw a card and get a 1/1. This is really explosive stuff on the play so far. Well, they don't have the mana up to counter an Eowyn, so that will resolve at least, get some stuff on the board. They're going to have 4 mana up. They're going to have 5 mana up if they play a land. Yeah, this could be very bad. There's the Surrounded by Orcs. Checking out our graveyard, seeing what we got. Take the 4. The lack of removal spells in this hand is actually going to be an issue here. Because that's already a 4/4 Orc Army. Vigilant Eowyn and attack in, and Pelargir Survivor might be important enough for our opponent that they don't block. They don't take that risk, because they know we have Escape from War things. So yeah, they don't take the risk. We get some free damage in. Feel like I'm supposed to be mana efficient and just play a Protector of Gondor here. Threatens to double block and kill the army, so they probably do something about it. But I could definitely see an argument for just playing Errand Rider of Gondor and digging for removal. Trying to dig through our deck. Well, I don't think I can take that bluff. I guess it's a 1-for-1. I lose Protector of Gondor for their combat trick. Because Gondor came with the 1/1. Show me what you got. We didn't see any combat tricks from them yet. And the only instant speed removal that we saw was... Oh yeah, we saw Cast into the Fire. That's fair. Trade Cast into the Fire into a Protector of Gondor, and we soak up all the damage. That's not actually... Like, it feels bad when it happens like that, but when you think about it, like... We just traded a single Protector of Gondor into a single Cast into the Fire. That's not terrible, especially with Oath of the Grey Host in hand. So I could Errand Rider and hold up Reprieve now, or I could just play Stalwarts and have a big enough creature to try to trade into the army again. I would really like to draw into some stuff, so let's drop Errand Rider. I should have played the land first. In case they had a counterspell, we could Reprieve the counterspell, and that would be pretty good. With Reprieve up, this attack's pretty free. Right, I'll Reprieve the Isolation then and draw a card. Slow them down. They can Isolation Eowyn now, but then they have to soak up 4 more mana into it, rather than playing anything else that affects the board. And now that's revealed, so we know they have an Isolation to worry about for when we're choosing a Ring Bearer. We know that they could just bounce the Ring Bearer, We know that if they attack in here and we try to double block, they can just bounce one of our creatures. And they're even just going to pass turn. I don't know why they wouldn't attack there. Because if we double block, they bounce one. If we don't block, they just get 4 damage in. Maybe they're down to 15. I guess they do have to worry about us hitting them to some extent. Isolation is creatures only? Yeah, it's creatures only, so we can drop both of the Grey Host, and that'll be super fine. So drop an Oath and an Esquire. I think that's the play. I don't think I need this many lands to draw and discard off of later, and we only have 1 level of Ring Tempting right now anyway. That extra mana on the board in case I draw something to play alongside Stalwarts of Osgiliath next turn. Because I could draw like a 2-drop creature, and then I want to play Stalwarts plus that creature. I guess it'd have to be a 3-mana creature, since I get a treasure token from Oath of the Grey Host. I'd have to draw into a 3-mana creature to need to have played a land this turn and next turn. Because then 5 mana for Stalwarts, 2 from these 2 lands, and 1 for my treasure for the 3-mana card. But yeah, I think it's fine to play a land here. And then we'll just hold on to this one if I don't draw a 3-drop. Where I want to dump all 8 mana into dumping a bunch of stuff on board. They're just going to pass turn again. Well, there's a 3-drop. And I think I would like to dump both of these out. Let's claim on a 4/4, super fine with me. Got a lot of mana up though, so let's just see what happens. I think I claim, choose my Ringbearer and attack. I don't think I Stalwarts until after combat to try to get the isolation out of their hand. Okay, the isolation's out of their hand, so now I can just Stalwarts and attack with a level 2 Ringbearer. To draw a card, discard a card. It will just mill me one, but it'll put a +1/+1 counter on the Stalwarts, which is good. So I'll do that. Unless they have Glorious Gale. Okay. Mill one to buff the Stalwarts. Alright, we got a super solid board state, and I'm about to get 3 1/1 flyers. They'll hit the board tapped, but alongside an Esquire the King, those things are going to be nightmares for our opponent later. My restless dreams, I see that Oath. 2 cards left in their hand now. A lot of flooding going on over there, which is definitely good for us. We redraw the Aowen since I drew and discard from the Ringbearer thing going on, which is sick. Send in the team. Trigger the Stalwarts again. Keep Aowen over Westfold Rider, and they are over it. They're just flooding out over there. Some unfortunate draws for our opponent, and some really solid draws for us, especially once we get that level 2 Ringbearer going. So really nice stuff for round 2. We are now at least 2-1. So at least a positive record out of this draft, but we are heading into the final boss, the final battle, where there are massive prizes on the line. These traditional drafts are super top heavy. Our next round is the difference between 1,000 gems and 3 packs, or 2,500 gems, 6 packs, and 2 play-in points. So let's get into that final round and battle it out to the best of our ability, see if we can't get those massive prizes. Here we are winning the coin flip every time. We get to choose to play first for the final round, and I guess we're a mono white deck because being able to play 2 Protector of Gondors before a Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin certainly busted enough to keep a hand with no swamps. Plus, we don't have any black cards in the hand anyway. So this could pan out pretty well for us. It could also pan out poorly. We could draw Claim the Precious into Voracious Fellbeast, into some other black card, and then we'll have a really bad time this game. But We draw any land to go with these Protector of Gondors. I don't really need to draw more spells for quite some time. Just play a Reaper on 2, Gondor on 4, Gondor on 5, now for Wrath on 6. And that's the plan. And now I've got to play for turn 3. It's definitely off-sequenced for the curve. We're playing, oops, a 1-drop on turn 3, but it'll still be good. And here we go, third round, third blue-red deck. Blue-red is popular today. I mean, they're always popular. They're definitely a very powerful archetype in the format. Scolding my Esquire, I'll take it. I mean, I guess I have nothing else that's small enough for them to Scolding coming up, but if I top deck Aeon or something, that'll play well for me. Their hand might be just 100% counter spells. That would make sense for just a real quick Scolding. Ooh, Deceive the Took Reaper. That is nasty. Felt free to make that attack because they didn't Deceive last turn, so we know they literally just top decked the Deceive. So that's pretty rough. Alright, now I can play Protector and Stalwarts of Osgiliath before I play Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin. And then when I play the Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin, there'll be a level 2 Ring Bearer to buff the Stalwarts up. Feeling pretty good this game, but I'm also pretty scared of our opponent's deck. Every card they've played so far is premium. Birthday Escape, Stern Scolding, and Deceive the Messenger. All very high picks for the blue-red spells deck. Grishnak? Oh yeah, the ring tempted us because they killed our Took Reaper. So actually when I play Stalwarts I already have a level 2 Ring Bearer. Hit us for 6. Roll into Reprieve. Okay, that's awkward. I would love to land. Probably just play another Protector of Gondor. Alright, they've got 5 mana up here. If this opponent has multiple copies of Horses of the Bruin in as well, that'll play pretty well. Just blow up our tokens, make a Ring Bearer, scry. Gonna hold up a bunch of instant speed stuff. So if they have Saruman's Trickery, they can counter Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin, but my only other line is just hold up 1 combat trick. 1 combat trick and a Reprieve. Sure. Since I get to combat trick and Reprieve, let's do this. They get to kill a 1/1 with their 3/3, that's whatever. Gandalf is the play. Just bounce Gandalf. Now we know. But mainly want to Reprieve there because we really want to try to draw into land 5. We didn't, but we're closer now. Alright, wipe their board, put them down to 11. There's Pelargir Survivor. No land, so they can't Gandalf here. This could play poorly, but let's see. They have the Gloria Scale yet? No. Alright, a level, or a 1 power Ring Bearer is pretty bad against Survivor. They must have instant speed burn or something. Hithlane Knots is the play. Scry 1, draw a card. Fair enough. Do still hit them for 3, but I don't draw a card for Stalwarts to get any bigger. But, again, now I have more creatures on the board for when I do put a counter on everybody. That's pretty sweet. They're down to 8. They're going to be at 8 life facing 3 4-power creatures and a 2-power creature. I mean, this one will be 5 power, but still. Alright, Gandalf and something else probably, but let's just jam out Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin. Didn't have a counterspell because they would have countered Stalwarts. Alright, they scooped them up. Sweet stuff there. I'm actually really worried about this matchup. I think their deck looks exceptional. Pelargir Survivor, Gandalf, Hithlane Knots, Grishnak, Deceive. Like, Hithlane isn't premium. You can definitely take it later during the draft, but it's definitely a solid card for the archetype. Grishnak's just a really powerful card in general. Doesn't do a massive amount in blue-red spells, but it's still a very, very strong card, so they've got some card quality in their deck. So, pretty scared of this matchup. I think, again, very similar to game one of our other 2 rounds. I think we might have seen some of their weaker cards, which is what scares me so much, is that these cards are all real good, but none of these are like their finishers, like Gandalf Sanction and stuff. Do I throw in Nasty End again? I think I'm going to do things a little weird, a little differently this time. I am actually going to go for the full aggro build of throwing in another Esquire and dropping a land. We've got the double blacks like Claim and Fell Beast. Maybe I drop Fell Beast even if I'm dropping a land. Just try to get in quickly like we did that game. That game ended before we had 6 mana. Not well before we had 6 mana, but definitely before we had 6 mana. Let's try that. Drop Fell Beast so I can drop a Swamp instead of a Plains. I only need double black for Claim. Drop East Farthing Farmer, or add East Farthing Farmer. Try this. Could be wrong, but I am scared of their deck's late game possibilities with Gandalf drawing a bunch of cards over time, Gandalf Sanctions being massive finishers. Let's just try to go full speed ahead, blitz mode. Actually, I probably should have put in Nasty End over the Farmer still. Again, because like we didn't see a Gandalf Sanction, but 9 times out of 10, if they're on blue-red, they're going to have one. Okay, well, I'm glad I cut a land, I guess. Can I keep this on the draw? There's only 11 lands left in the 33 cards left in my deck. Oh, there's only 10 lands left. Oh, Lord. I'm just gonna top deck like an absolute god. Just watch. Just watch. There's only 10 lands in these 33 cards. We're gonna draw incredibly. Just you wait. Not this turn, next turn. Next turn, it'll be beautiful. I promise. Oh, they've got rallies in there? They just turn 1 Birthday Escape, turn 2 Rally. Their deck's insane. Also, these draws are statistically insane. Now I have 8 lands in my deck. Now I have 7 lands in my deck. Oh my god. There's no way. I mean, it's a greedy keep for sure, but the odds of land? I should go to the lottery, I guess. Soothing a Smeagol is actually solid for me, because I don't know if I was going to have a play next turn without that. Looks like it probably wouldn't have mattered, because we were about to mulligan to 6 against an incredible hand. Birthday Escape, Rally, Soothing to start things off. If they keep curving out and following through with these plays... Wow. Oh my god. Okay. We have 5 lands left? Or no, we have 6 left? Somebody's got to crunch the numbers on that. When you have 10 lands out of 33 cards, what are the odds of hitting 4 in a row? Yeah, they are still curving out Gandalf now. Okay. We would have had a real game of Magic, but their hand is really good in curving out super fast, so probably still a losing game regardless. This is just kind of funny at this point. Let's see how long we can keep this going. Can we get 5 for 5? 10 out of these 33 were lands. We hit 4 in a row. Can we hit a 5th in a row? Come on. Gauntlet needs a plains. Show me the money. Oh yeah, it's too small to block that. I forgot how ring bearers worked for a second. Foray of Orcs. Oh my god, this is going to be a really hard matchup. Their deck is incredible. Samwise, alright. Well, we didn't hit 5 for 5. That's kind of depressing. Especially since we hit Samwise. right after our creature died, which was extra rough. Yep, why not? That is very useless right now. 7. Alright, well, it would have been incredibly difficult statistically to get punished any harder than we did. But I do think the keep was a bit greedy. I probably should have mulled to 6. Again, probably a losing battle even on a mulled to 6, especially because technically, if I mulled to 6 and drew a hand with less than 6 lands, I would have been even more likely to hit 4 or 5 lands in a row. So basically, no matter how good my 6-card hand was, if it was going to draw 4 lands in a row as well, then it probably also loses. I could reprieve and then they can just cast that again and then we die on board. Alright. Well. Game entirely decided by the shuffler and or mulligans. Could have mulliganed to 6, but we'll never know how good the 6-card hand would have been. I think we should have probably mulliganed to 6. Probabilistically, but we'll never know exactly what we would have had if we mulliganed to 6 and if we could have won the game or not. It's again always a possibility we just mold to 6 and have like a 0 lander and then have to mold to 5 where there's basically no shot at victory, even with the perfect 5-card hand. So I think we were already going to have a massively uphill battle here regardless, but we definitely should have mulliganed. And couldn't have gotten punished any harder. So just running it back, I think. Maybe throw the land back in. I mean, well, I don't know about that after those draws, but statistically, mathematically, maybe put the land back in, put the Fell Beast back in, since we're on the play now. Instead of on the draw, we'll naturally be a little bit ahead, curving out naturally. We don't have to go super low curve to try to get in underneath our opponent, so we throw in a Fell Beast, drop an Esquire, drop the Farmer, throw in another Swamp for the Fell Beast to get that double black. Just go back to the main deck, basically. Didn't see any Gandalf Sanction, honestly. I don't actually know if Nasty End's great in this matchup. It works against 4A. But that's 2 games now. We didn't actually see the Gandalf Sanction. Kind of a lot of info at that point. Yeah, I'll run it like this. We'll just go for the core build of our deck and hope that being on the play can help us a lot. And hopefully just not have a super, super, super bad game of draws for our final game as we did last game. Alright, this is a really reasonable start. We do need to hit a land in our first 2 draw steps, but we're back up to 17 lands here. So odds are not terrible. Untapped says we're at a 45% chance to hit lands, and there we go. So now we get to play Eowyn into Errand Rider, and that'll draw us an extra card to try to hit land 4. If we hit land 4 naturally, we can just Eowyn into Protector of Gondor, which is also great. Curving out pretty well on the play. There's the Rally again, which is great against Took Reaper. Maybe I should have sided Took Reaper out for Nimble Hobbits, since we saw Rally at the Hornburg, but we only saw 1 copy of Rally at the Hornburg, so I don't know. I mean, Eowyn makes the Took Reaper still useful, at least, so that's definitely helpful. Eowyn gets around the Rally. I think like 1 Rally at the Hornburg's probably not enough information to drop Took Reaper. Although they have Rally and Deceive the Messenger, so that's 2 cards that Nimble Hobbit is much better than Took Reaper against. But still, the 1/3 body of Nimble Hobbit is just not doing much, and the Ring Tempting from Took Reaper is pretty important. Oh lord, alright, turn 2 Rally into turn 3 Grishnak here. It's pretty nasty. I definitely don't like seeing that. I do like hitting land 4. First strike the Took Reaper send in with everybody, we're racing our opponent, then we drop a Protector of Gondor, so we know based on our hand we can definitely try to win this race, but our opponent might not. Our opponent might still be trying to race us hard, and they are, and that's hopefully going to go bad for them when we play Protector of Gondor, but I guess maybe they have something we don't know about coming up turn 4 that races astronomically well. But Protector of Gondor is just a giant roadblock. There's road work ahead for miles when Protector of Gondor shows up. They got a foray of orcs they're trying to use here, blow up the Protector, send in with everybody. That might be what they're using to try to race here. And they were like, oh yeah, take this all foray, kill the Eowyn. Okay, no foray of orcs. We're really happy with that. And they don't even attack. Let's go. And I'm 1 land away from Fellbeast. Fellbeast actually kind of sucks against the 1/1s right now, but a 4/4 flyer is still a really big deal. So they've got a 1/3 blocker now, which is pretty rough. The Took Reaper's not getting in well anymore. Eowyn is at risk. Even with First Strike? I guess with First Strike, technically Eowyn couldn't die. Because they could block with everybody, and I First Strike the 2/2, and Eowyn takes 3. So, maybe it is First Strike Eowyn attack with Protector and Eowyn here. And then drop Errand Rider. I should probably drop Errand Rider pre-combat, just in case they've got a burn spell so the Eowyn dies. Yeah, I don't think this is a Boromir turn. Let's get Errand Rider down, looking for land 6 for Fellbeast. Finding land 6, giving Eowyn... I guess Eowyn just bounces off of Survivor, but maybe they value the Survivor enough that they don't block. Do the full control, so I had a little stop there, so it looks like I might have something. Because our opponent has a really good deck, I assume they're very experienced to where if Arena's just auto-skipping through my attack there, they're going to be like, you just don't have something, I'm going to block with Survivor. So I gave them a little bluff opportunity with full control. So maybe Eowyn doesn't get blocked by Survivor. Alright, cool. Eowyn doesn't get blocked by Survivor. Protector does. I think I do just kill the Survivor. Keep them off mana here rather than killing the army. This only plays bad if they top deck Foray of Orcs, because I think if they had Foray of Orcs in their hand already, they would have just cast it last turn instead of Survivor. So I think it's right to let them keep the army here. Because again, unless they top deck Foray of Orcs, the army doesn't matter too much in comparison to the Survivor. Okay, we definitely wait to Fellbeast until post-combat. I guess I could play Boromir and Took Reaper instead. They've got 4 power, they could triple block Eowyn. Kill both their 1/1s, then cast Fellbeast. Not horrible. Gotta see what they've got here. They could have Gandalf, actually, to kill Took Reaper. If they have Gandalf, though, they'll kill Errand Rider with it. Gotta just hope they don't, because if they do, I don't really get to attack at all anyway. Maybe it is a Boromir turn, just in case of Gandalf. Like, break in case of Gandalf emergency. Don't love that. Thinking a bunch and then not doing anything. Makes me feel like it's Gandalf. It is not Gandalf. Ooh, sweet baby. I suppose if it was Gandalf, they've had 4 mana the last, like, 3 turns now, so they also... Gandalf would have been their best play the turn they played Pelargir Survivor. And Gandalf would have been their best play this turn also. Okay, so they just take that all... Okay, no great Felbeast targets, but it's still a 4/4 flyer, so we jam it down and hope for no Gale. Council's Deliberation is not a Gale. Let's go. That's a huge deal. They're at 8 life and we have a 4/4 flyer on the board. That single-handedly kills them in 2 hits. They've got 6 cards in hand. They've got a lot of stuff, but if it isn't efficient removal, we are pressuring their life total very quickly. And now I have a Samwise? I think I Boromir pre-combat, but then I do hold up the Samwise mana. Okay, tap the Felbeast, scry 1, draw a card. I'm so glad I killed their Pelargir Survivor here, because I think a big part of what's helping us here is how choked they are on blue mana, that they can only cast 1 blue instant per turn. That is super helpful. First strike a Took Reaper. Send in everybody. I guess if I had just let them kill Took Reaper, then I could Samwise it back and get a lot of ring tempting going on, but I'm just going to hold up Samwise as an instant. They've hit their second blue source now, which is helpful for them, but they're at 4 life facing down 4 creatures, all of which have at least 2 power, so we only have to hit them with 2. And they're blue-red, so they're not likely to have life gain. They could have like a Lembas or something, but that takes way too much mana to be good enough to save them here. 2 to play and then 2 mana to eat it and gain the 3 life. So they scoop them up. We get there in the end, 2-1. I think I played everything out pretty well today. Very happy with how I drafted and played. I think the one big decision today that was our punt of the day, we gotta have one of those every time, was certainly just keeping the hand game 2. That was a little greedy. I mean, I was like doing the math. I'm like, come on, all right, we cut lands here. We're on the draw. I have 6 lands in the openers. There's only 10 lands left in the 33 card deck. But it's like, I mean, you could still draw those lands. Like, even if it's unlikely to hit a ton of them in a row, 10 out of 33 is still a little less than 1 out of 3. And even if half of our draws were lands that game, we would have been having a really bad time. So even if I got just slightly unlucky, the hand would have played out really bad. And then we got very unlucky and just super crushed. So I think I should have mulliganed that. I should have done the math better on that one instead of getting greedy and just being like, well, how could we possibly draw more lands? That was the Wario blood in me coming out, the garlic lover within me. WarioWare version 5.0. All right, well, excellent draft today. Really happy with how the deck performed. I would have liked to play against more of a variety of decks. We kind of just played against blue-red 3 times in a row. At least the second deck was pretty different. They were like blue-red-black Amass there in round 2, so it played out quite differently. And all 3 of the decks were different. The first one was like the most counterspelling, the most controlling, and it had a scry package going on with the Nimmerdell card and a lot of ring tempting to try to get level 4 ring bearers. The second match was just an Amass build of the deck, lots of Orc armies and stuff. And then the third deck was just a bunch of high quality cards in general. One of the most aggressive builds too, with Rally at the Hornburg and Grishnak. So even though we played against the same colors and the same general deck idea all 3 rounds, at least they were all unique in their own ways. So that was pretty cool. Overall, great stuff to the deck. As always, I like to try to go through, pick my overperformer and underperformer for cards that did better than I thought they would, cards that did worse than I thought they would. Honestly, I don't know if we have one today. I think everything did its job, did super well. I might give Stalwarts of Osgiliath the overperformer, because this is a card that early in the format I basically completely ignored. I'm like a 5-mana 4/3, okay, whatever. That's not that interesting, even if it does maybe get a counter every other turn. But the Ring Tempts You is a very good, very important ability. So Stalwarts was very helpful in a lot of these games. It was the difference between a level 1 and a level 2 Ring Bearer quite often. And when it is that difference, it means the second it hits the board, we get a level 2 Ring Bear, we start filtering through our draws with that looting of drawing and discarding a card, and we get the counters on the Stalwarts. So it just plays really well if you have a level 1 Ring Bear or a level 1 Ring and you play it on turn 5. So I think Stalwarts was a nice, consistent, just cohesive card helping glue everything together in a lot of those games. And it was kind of a card that's easy to just like not sing its praises, because it's easy to overlook it for other cards. Like Eowyn was always incredible because she was always helping with those combats, especially that last game. In recent memory with the Rally at the Hornberg tokens and the Took Reaper, she found so much extra damage for us. So Eowyn's like so just obviously good, but Stalwart's just kind of like a consistent little backbone to the deck that was super helpful there. As for the biggest underperformer deck, that's really hard to say because I think everything in the deck showed up and did pretty well, even Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin. So much harder to say on there, but I would say probably Reprieve overall. We did find some good opportunities to Reprieve. It definitely did its job and played well in a few of those games, bouncing a Horses of the Bruinen, bouncing some other combat tricks and stuff like that. The game where we bounced it against their 3-mana combat trick, that was exceptional, but it also had some pretty rough times where it was in our hand at awkward moments, mainly just when we top decked it when we're still trying to set up our board. In the game where we kept like a 6-lander, then it was a really, really big deal that this wasn't like basically any other non-land card in our deck. Basically any other card in our deck would have been better in that opportunity, so that is part of the risk of Reprieve, and that definitely showed up in a game or two today where we drew it when anything in our entire deck would have been better. So I'll give Reprieve the underperformer, but only by a tiny, tiny bit. It still played quite well. Again, in multiple of those games, just have to choose something for underperformer alongside overperformer there. So really nice stuff from the deck as a whole. Very happy to get another 3-win run in a traditional draft and scoop up a ton of gems for the collection, some extra packs, and some play-in points towards a play-in event in the future. Love hoarding all these play-in points for whenever the next limited play-in event is, so that we can play those for free. So pretty nice stuff, super great rewards, and I will be happy to end the draft there. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube channel members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you more of these videos in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link or the join button below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.